ขอเซตไมค์แป๊บโอเคฮะสวัสดีครับอยู่ผมนักพลังมือเกลียนเกรสโอเคตัวผมเรียบร้อยวันนี้เป็นการแข่งขันรีแมช G2 West Sentinel แป๊บตบมือวู้วู้เพิ่มเสียงเพิ่มเสียงโอเคใครมันเราจะเริ่มขึ้นโดยการเปิดตัวก่อนมาแล้วครับเปิดมาเป็น6โอ้ออกกำลังกายการรีแมชเคล็อกเดฟจะแซมเทนส์แล้วก็จบที่ซอมโอเควันนี้เป็นการรีแมตช์ของทาง G2 กับเซตเนี่ยวันนี้จะมีอะไรชูให้เราดูกันมากันเลยดีกว่า
Gotta love it as G2 and Sentinel step back on stage. Plenty of energy out of Kellogg specifically, but both teams understanding the importance of stretching before you sit down for an intense match of Valor and gameplay, getting into it together.
I just find it hilarious because it's so goofy, but if you remember from the other day, these two teams had some of the most outlandish trash talk, just how they were screaming at each other across the stage, and you watch them walk out like that, and they're just acting.
We edited out game day gum. All right, gotta have that fresh.
เฮฮาครับเฮฮาถือว่ามันจะไปไกลกับที่ตึงเครียดนะครับแต่ว่าความตึงเครียดมันไม่ได้ช่วยอะไรฮะเราต้องมีความเฮฮาและมีความจริงใจอยู่แค่นั้นเอง
But I think you bring up a great point about again the respect that exists between these players.
ไม่ใช่โคเบต้า
From moment to moment, right? We can share that. We can have that respect as we step on stage. But as soon as we get behind the desks, we are fierce competitors, and we will let you know that every step of the way. The result goes the way it is, and respect is earned just again. All right, now let's restart that conversation around map select. We talked a little bit about it. I don't want to get too in on it, Doug, because I got Gio's thoughts a little bit. But if you were in that G2 spot right now, would you be looking back at Icebox as, hey, we got to go there, we can for sure get that win?
So I want to say yes 1,000%, but the thing is, and I know I touched on it earlier, but it's so difficult to beat a team twice, right? It's so difficult to beat a team twice on the same map too, exactly. So if there was a pocket pick, if there was something funny that you wanted to throw at him, especially going against Shazam with his prep and his note-taking and stuff like that, some of that is lost, right? Like the allure of it initially is lost. How do you do it again?
I mean, other than the Ascent ban, which Sentinels have done a couple times now and seem pretty clear that they don't want to play it, the only map they haven't played is Bind. So the question there is, did G2 go there?
Yeah, and you make a really good point, but you also wonder, with how the bans went and how the match went the first time around, you've got Split, Icebox, and Haven was the first time they danced, right? We know it's very likely we go back to Icebox. We know that G2 feel good on the map, so there's a good chance. Yeah, there's a good chance they want it. But I think Dash, you mentioned it earlier.
เอาละครับเริ่มการที่ pick and ban.
Right, so that might be the first one, and then of course they'll have the third map choice as well. But when you bring up Bind, it just to me, it just again emphasizes how difficult it is to step onto a stage against the Sentinel squad because they're sporting what 10-1 record on Bind. It's not really a win rate that you want to walk into. Like you say, we haven't seen them there yet, and I am generally a fan in series play across any esport to make teams prove it to you on stage. Fine, you have those statistics within your own region, but you haven't done it yet here at Masters Berlin. So I think that's not a bad idea as we see Breeze rather taken off the table by G2. I mean, after that Breeze performance, I mean, I would be terrified of that as well.
I would as well, and I mean, Ascent is going to be the second one that goes off as well. That's Sentinel's pick. So it does mean that Bind is still in.
Bind is still in, but Icebox is the play for G2. So again, indexing into the confidence that they built the first time around and taking that map, believing they can do it again, setting themselves up nicely to at least go the distance to that third map where they will have another choice. It's going to be Sentinels on defense to kick things off there.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing is because of the way the map picks, are setting out.
เป็นเซนติเฟนเดอร์นะฮะในด่านของ
you're in trouble. Oh, then it might be doomed.
ด่านแรกเลย
I mean, you're you're in a world of hurt.
Well, and that's why I really like the defensive choice by Sentinels, because again, that's what to me says that Shaz has picked apart some of G2's strategies. We know how they like to execute now, and the setups might look very different on the defensive side. With Sentinels, I think to no surprise, picking up Split as map number 2.
And this is where that question that I spoke about earlier comes in, because they played the Viper against G2 before, but they didn't when they then played against F4Q. So which way are they going to go?
G2 ที่จะเลือกเป็นด่านบายนั้น เรามารอดูกัน
Sentinels in that situation though, Gio, is that they can flex both, right? Like they've shown success with both. They know that they can do it either way, and honestly, for that, you've got G2 going, well, crap, what are they going to throw at us, right? Is the Viper going to be there? Is the Viper not going to be there? And like, when you have so many different looks that you can study off of, it's almost too much.
The more and more we talk about it, the more happy I am that I'm not at G2 coaching because I don't want to be responsible for having made those choices. And map 3, we get that bind that you were talking about, Gio.
So I get it, because those who remember will remember Haven on the previous series, Tens basically just playing the op as a shotgun on A-Long. I would not want to go back to that, but Bind is obviously a big question mark because this is such a dominant map for Sentinels. You mentioned the 10-1 record, but specifically in the NA playoffs, they played it 3 times, won all of those. And but that said, G2, while they've had a bit more of an up and down of late, you've got these players like Nuki, who's performed so well on the Raze recently, that there's still quite a lot that you can derive optimism for them.
I think the other thing that's difficult there is if you go Bind, that's great. Sentinels have a 10-1 record. What are you going to do though? You're going to go Haven instead, because we talked about that.
No better.
Right, like you're picking poison.
And that's why I like it. That's why I like it. You're trying something different. You're sticking to the one map that worked, and you're going somewhere else just to make Sentinels show you something different. But we should go ahead and refocus towards Icebox, as that will be the first map. And as we've said, having already played, we have a sense of what these teams want. My question is, should anything change when it comes to the agents on either side of the table?
I mean, I actually personally was fine with the agent selections they went with before. It was basically the same composition, except we had a Reyna on the side of Sentinels and a Raze on the side of G2. Now, I think these represent what these two teams are happy with. The thing I'm going to be looking at is Kellogg's has shown improvement since that game. It's really him and his performance that's going to matter more to me than changing agents.
Honestly, my eyes, I know I mentioned it earlier, but my eyes are on Nukia, right? Like, he played well on Icebox. He had excellent first contact stats across the board. He played really well. He was applying pressure in the right places at the right time on the race specifically. So you almost need to have a similar performance there.
Well, and that's perhaps, as we mentioned, maybe the one agent change you look for is instead of splitting the duelist Reyna on one side and Raze on the other, maybe you do just go toe-to-toe with Tens. And you say, look, whichever one of us is having the better day, is going to take the win.
That's
Hey, it worked last time, right?
เทนที่เป็นเลือกของเลน่ากับมิกซ์เวลที่เราเป็นตัวของไวเปอร์และสุดท้ายก็จะเป็นเคลอบเจ็ตกับซอมไวเปอร์
something crazy, but no, it's going to be those same compositions.
There it is. So we get the
เกมอะไรจะเริ่มคุณ
run back
วัต
here
ฟลา
on
ส G2 เวสเซน
It was, I'll remind people, a 13-8 last time around. The real question lies in what has Shaz figured out in those VOD reviews.
What has Shaz figured out, and what can G2 do as far as momentum? Right now, like I think momentum's where it's at. Momentum's key. What happens if you play a world when this is a big ask, right? Because that assumes that Shaz can't download it in time. But what happens if you find yourself in a world where your hits are so fast and so aggressive and so hard, you know you're going to lose a couple, but you're hitting them so hard and so fast that there's just not enough time to download.
One thing that I would like to see is Sentinels just improve the way they deal with the flanks that G2 did. Dapper's flank watch was great, but then G2 would send a lot of reinforcements, and that would catch them out quite a bit.
All right, G2, they're taking a map. Can they get two? Either way, it's got to start here on Icebox. Looking to take down the Titans in Sentinels. From here, we're going up to Mitch and Tom for the call.
Thank you so much, guys. Wow, am I excited to kick this one off, Tom.
Hell yeah.
This is set to be an exciting series, a rematch, of course, and you may bet your ass this is the game that these guys have been looking forward to all tournament long.
This is the game I've been looking forward to all tournament long. I mean, got to watch it the first time and I was like, are we going to see G2 match up? Because that's always going to be the question when we see Sentinels. I know you've got the pink in your hair because you love Sentinels. Mitch, your favorite team.
Wednesdays we will play.
People saying it looks a little bit red, but yeah. This is the squad that basically everybody is looking to beat. G2 they did relatively well last time. Now we get to see if they can maybe go a little further.
เอาละเป็นทาง G2 ที่จะเลือกขึ้นทางของที่เช่นแล้วก็เป็นทางของซิกที่วอลปิดไปแล้วก็เกิดการทำลายวอลเกิดขึ้น
Watching Sentinels is always a pleasure, but Tom, now we get to cast them. And here on the defensive side of Icebox, they look to take down G2. Tough series last time around, but so far, they maintain that unbeatable record when it comes to international events.
Yeah, they did lose a map. It was this one last time. I think that was the one thing that we have to put out there is that if G2 are going to have a chance in this series, I think they need to take this map. And they've got off to a decent start. They've managed to take down Dapper. A couple of players already rotated in. It's early in the day. But they're going to get themselves the upper front, and more importantly, the wall has kept them safe.
Players have had their warm-ups. You can see that.
Too.
But surely, this is where Sentinels start to mount that comeback quite quickly into the site. Sick, wanting to move
โอเครู้ว่ามีตำแหน่งหนึ่งลูกกี้เก็บชาเซมจากที่การแม่งหลายไปนี่เคลอบเก็บซอมบี้ไปเคลอบดับเบิลคิวเก็บเทนอีกครั้งหนึ่งเคลอบโดนซิกเก็บ
With only one player taken
โอ้ย
down,
โดนมิด
this pistol
เก็บ
is
ซิ
so
กไปเป็น
close to
วินแรกของ
flawless
ทาง
to kick off
G2 นะครับผม
Yeah, really solid start for G2. I think that's always going to be important, especially when we talk about Kellogg's as an individual player. Like he's someone that thrives off of these battles in the early stages. If he can get rolling, maybe we can see a battle where he actually puts himself to the forefront of this team. Because that's the main thing. Like when we look towards someone like Tens, well, I think he's currently the second highest rated player in the entire tournament. I think he's had the best map so far in the entire tournament. So we have to go and say that we expect Tens to show up throughout this series.
แล้วราวที่2มาเริ่มกันเลยดีกว่าที่เราเป็นบายมาเชลมาเป็นฟูลอาร์เมอร์ฮะ
But he needs to be on his best form here today if they're going to compete.
Yeah, there's no room for error. There's no room to be a little bit more relaxed. For G2, they need every single player to show up, and it does definitely start by looking at that head-to-head between Kellogg's and Shazam. Considering the last time we saw Sentinels play, he had a couple of good maps as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's some unbelievable stats, and I think especially when you look at the defensive side of this map in particular, that A side basically comes down to the Tens and Shazam show. These aggressive pushes, these battles deep into A. That's why you're going to see these slow rounds out from G2. These defaults help to make sure that they're not losing too much map control. And in fact, in this one, Sentinels have actually gambled into the A site. Unfortunately for them, G2 are going B.
G2 are going to get a nice open site to walk on into.
โอ้โหผัดวอลไปวอลกันมาโคเมต้าใช้โดนเพื่อเข้าไซแล้วเป็นทางว่าที่เดินเพื่อเช็คเข้าเกียร์แล้ววอลแล้วเป็นการแคลนสไปร์ในราวที่2
Obviously, they'll take it if it comes their way, but for the most part, they're looking to do damage and drop weapons. G2 have no choice with a pistol in hand. Him going down would be the biggest deal. He's got Cold Dementor here to help him just to make sure that they don't give away any unnecessary advantages. Great satchel to pursue as well. But you don't want to get too aggressive here, Tom. You have to play right into the hands of the pistol. Going down right below him. Luckily, he was able to deal with that. The important thing for me looking at that situation is not just that G2 survive with all of their rifles brought through to the next round with nuclear recovering the Spectre, but that they have full shields as well. Everybody was on 50 walking out. That saves so much reinvestment coming into this round here.
It means they could
ราวนี้แหละเป็นราวที่อาจจะเป็นการโชว์ฟลอร์มกลับมาของเซนติเนลหรือเป็นการขุดหลุมฝังของเซนติเนลที่2
into this round like the Blade Storm 3 away. By that point, you almost look around and go, well, you kind of done a lot there. Do you want to invest it anyway? Now, for the other side of things, this is where we get the purchases for Sentinels, though. And likelihood is they're going to be able to take a little bit more space in this sort of round and make sure. Well, basically, they don't have too many casualties.
Well, exactly. This is the bonus round for G2. Haven't had to invest into anything bar the armor shields up on Cold Dementor. He got dropped over as Sheriff, of course. So they'll be looking to just come out here with a couple of scouts. See how passive Sentinels are taking it towards the extremities. But around middle, they are looking to get aggressive. Sick started to push down through the tube. And we saw that Tens was getting a little bit itchy to move forward as well, but they decide against it with a minute left, realizing this isn't a full B commitment. There's still players outside the A side.
แซมรอยิงแล้วเดฟซ้ายยังขวาผู้ผิดยิงปุ๊บเดฟขวา
they're playing a bit more of a retake on B as well, so they have this deep control from Sazam.
เอาถ้ามีโดนขึ้นมาของทางโคเมต้าแล้วก็เป็นมิเชลพี่ออกมาให้เพื่อนแล้วก็มีตามไอ้เมียว่ายิงระยะไกลกับแซมให้เขาจับไปเคลำเก็บเดฟอีกทีเทนเกมจับโคเมต้านะครับการรีบหนีไปเลยว่ามีนุกี้ที่มันจะขนาดแล้วเก็บเทนไปเอาว่าแผนที่ในราวที่3แผนที่ไปที่100ซิกเจอกับทางเอาว่าเก็บซิกไป1 ลีนเฮด4จะเกิดอะไรขึ้นโอ้ยทางกับมิเชลเจอส้มมีทางกับว่าเก็บ3ไปเก็บซอฟขึ้นเป็นวิธี3ของจีโชOh my god!
As I said, Coldamenta came in with a sheriff. Him dying.
บ้าบอกเก็บไปแล้วจีทูเก็บก่อนหรือยังไงกัน
Your Phantoms, your Vandals. And I don't mind Shazam going out because he tried to catch really good timing. As he was being pinged up, he gets pinged the first time, and they'll think, okay, he's going to run back. He tries to swing out, obviously with the intention of, I've got the dash if I need to use it. Well, he's got taken down before he could even get to his key.
The only thing there is, it just feels like maybe in a buy round I'd agree. I just think it's the risk when you have a rifle that it just seems a little bit more peculiar with G2 being able to almost just stack up against him.
Stop him getting close
โอ้
at
จะ
the
เจอ
same
ครับ
time, though.
โอ้
You know,
my
those
god
Spectres, 3 of them
โค
come
เม
running
ต้า
around the
จะ
corner.
เป็นทาง
And
กับ
the
เซ
only
นติเนล
real
ที่โลก
danger
หนี
was
ไป
when
แล้ว
you're,
เรียบ
well,
ร้อ
should
ย
have been when
แด
you're
บ
looking over
แอ
towards
นิ
the
เมต
Marshal,
แท็ก
which obviously
แม่นกันจ
was
ริงๆเลยแอนิเมตแท็กนี่เอาเน็ตเป็นอะไรเน็ต TOT โอ้TOT พี่โอเคเกมกลับมาใหม่ฮะ
Still online as well. He's playing with the Marshal right now, and you can see that G2 are sensing a weakness. They're moving towards this A side, but Sentinels have stacked up.
โอ้โหเอาว่าฮะเทนเอาว่าเทนโอ้ยน็อกเทนออกมาเทนโดนเอาว่าเก็บไปมิกซ์เวลโอ้ยมิกซ์เวลไหลมาเจอแต่ว่าเก็บไม่หมดซิกเก็บมิกซ์เวลแล้วคอมเมต้าเก็บซอฟต์แล้วซอมเมต้าเก็บซิกต่อไปเป็นดับเบิลคิวหรือซ้อม
looking like a relatively clean round for the side of G2's credit stacked up and it's only really Zoms that can make this costly.
Icebox จะกลายเป็น
Kellogg's
ด่าน
having the
แก้
Marshal
โป
as
ร
well. He
เซน
can
เหรออย่า
potentially
ง
grab
นี้
an upgrade to a rifle. I'm surprised he's staying way back in spawn, watching for the flank.
รอฮะรอดักเพราะยังไงก็การ1 vs 4ด้วยเชลิฟมีความเป็นไปได้ค่อนข้างยากฮะก็เลยเลือกที่จะเป็นเซฟแบบนี้แต่ว่ารอเก็บทีละตัวเพื่อตัดปืนนะฮะแล้วก็ยอมตายเพื่อได้ตังค์
And if Sentinels get no damage done here,
เอาแล้วตะกี้อาจจะเห็นแขกโคเมต้าแต่ลูกกี้ที่อยู่บนแต่ไม่มีหัวเจอโคเมต้า
Of course, for Zoms,
โอ้
probably
แต่
just
ว่า
going to
โอ้
try and
หนึ่
take
ง
one with him, die to the spike. There's no real value in holding on to the sheriff, but in fact, Kellogg's is going to pick him
ลง
off
ไปยิง
instead. So
กับ
now
ซ้อม
we
ไป
start looking
นะ
at that
เป็น
ultimate
ราวที่
economy as a
4
little
ขอ
bit
ง
more
จี
deadly.
ทู
Because that's the thing. This is a round for G2. Well, I wouldn't be bothered if they
เอา
sort of
ละฮะ
spammed
จังห
their
วะนี้
ultimates. This is
ทาง
the
เซน
first
เซีย
time we're
จะ
going to
ทำได้
see
หรือไม่
what I would call a
จะแก้
proper
เกม
full
กลับ
buy
มา
for
ได้หรือไม่
Sentinels.
นั้
We
น
know
เรามาดู
how
กันดีกว่า
impactful
นะ
Shazam's operator can be,
ไอ้ยา
especially with, for example, that position earlier he was
มา
playing.
ครับ
If he was an
ชาแซ
operator
กับ
there, he gets
operator
killed and he dashes out. I
และ
would
เป็น
bet on
ฟูล
it
สเปก
99% of the time.
แฟ
So
นทอมนะฮะ
it's a spot now where if they can use that Hunter's Fury to get an opener, if they can maybe get the Blade Storm and almost one trick him out of the round, that would be a huge start for them. And 5-0 on the attacking side, we know that G2's always been strong in this
เห็น
attack.
โอ้เป็นนุกี้ที่เก็บชาแซมอะไรกันเนี่ย
That was like 8
ซีทู
seconds in.
เก็บ
we
กด
talked
เหรอ
about Shazam's operator. Obviously, Kellogg's has bought up his own, and now he's the only opera left on the server for the time being, at least.
เออ
A
เห็น
man
นะฮะ
advantage
โอ้
for
โห
G2.
เอ
Playing by
อ
Nuki.
เก้าเมื่อกี้เห็นหัวโอ้ยสะบัดเก็บเทนไปแล้วสิเก็บมิสเวลไอ้บ้าเอ้ยโคเมต้าโคเมต้ายิงเดฟโลแล้วเป็นโอ้นุกี้ที่ปาระเบิดใส่เดฟเป็นทิปเปิลคิว
That is glorious
เอา
for
ว่า
G2. 4 versus
อ๋อ
2.
เป็นเอาว่าเก็บซิก
Can't
ไป
even get a kill on the board. Again, it's Zoms left to 1v4
โอ้ยเจอแล้วครับ
retake.
โอ้โหนุกี้เก็บซอมบี้ไปอะไรเนี่ย50
What if G2
What the
had for
heck What
breakfast
the
this
fuck
morning?
was that What happened on
This is
50 10
sensible,
ครับ
right? Like, I
เซนต้องมา
can't
อี
believe
โค
what
น
I'm
เอาอีก
witnessing.
ทีนึง
Like, I'm not even sure if Nuki's actually
ที่
died
สุดท้ายแล้วของ
yet.
นุกี้กัน
It's been running riot. Every single aggressive player has been completely shut down. They're making the openers onto this site in particular look incredibly
นี่
easy.
ฮะ
Yeah, as I said, at the moment, this doesn't look like Sentinels.
We've had the conversation many times when it comes to the EMEA region about Nuki,
เซน
about
ถึง
him
กับต้องปวด
potentially
หัว
being
เลยฮะ โด
one
น
of the
นำไป
best
ถึง
players in
50
the
แบบ
world.
นี้
And you're seeing him
ยิงไม่
here
ได้
on the
เลยครับ
international
ผม
stage. He has had one hell of a tournament so far. And the
ที่เรา
start to this map, lightning fast. Let's see what else they can do. Now, just up against the pistols yet again, but Sentinels are starting to roll the dice and take some risks. They've pushed B, they've pushed mid, and they're seeing no one here. G2 might be about to get trapped in.
G2 เลิกกลับมาเล่นทางเอไหลแล้วเคหลอดที่เราดักไม่อยู่เก็บซิกไปนิกทูนุกกี้กับเอาว่าเก็บแดฟไปนะฮะ
To be honest, they continue to find the It may have been a stack, it may have been a flank, but well, G2 just get through it, no problem.
This is an unbelievable start. I mean, Sentinels are looking hard nerfed. I wouldn't be surprised if coming out of this round, you get a pause out of this defensive side. And that's not to say that G2 aren't doing a fantastic job. And in particular, Nukia on those openings, but for Sentinels,
died.
Exactly. Normally, they would at least connect a couple of shots to make these rounds costly, and instead a Prime Gaming Flawless comes out, and G2 already had a bunch of money. Now they are stacked with credits.
Well, Kellogg's having a great time. I almost wonder if Ocelot right now is just saying, can we get
that
plane back in the air? Can we get it back in the air? Like, we got memed for it, we got owned for it, but I feel like it's always good to make these sort of going to be coming into the studio behind us. I'm a little bit worried. I know he's close by. You've had your nice little selfie with his nice little G2 stamp that they've got on the floor.
Oh my god,
oh yeah, the graffitis. IRL graffitis. Well, for Sentinels, this is a full buy. Shazam with the operator yet again. And you'll notice he's not quite playing as aggressive as he did before. Maybe a little bit scared of running into Nukia. 10 certainly should have been, because he is being shut down to start. Dapper pops off the Hunter's Fury. Very found. But Kellogg's so close to death. 26 HP as he dashes on out. And they've already burned up their heals, so it's going to be a while before he gets back up to full.
Although Tenza's gone down, they still have this bait and switch.
Has gone
into a far more aggressive position than what we've seen before. It does seem like Tenza's starting to be predicted quite often now by the side of Nukia's just on one today. That said, he's in a prime position to do a fair amount of damage, but now the showstopper comes through, catches him on the edge of the wall, leaving just 2 men standing for the side of Sentinels.
So well played so far by G2 and a 4v2 yet again. Dapper and Zombs, we've seen it so many times, but here's a successful start. Zombs left in the 1v3. Kellogg still low, but he has that operator, and he has the angle. 7-0, a dominant start for the EMEA side. And this is not something that I think anyone would have seen coming. Shazam, having 2 operators bought up, is still to get on the board.
I feel like Tenza's stats are about to be ruined. Like, he's been averaging, I think over 300 ACS for the entirety of the tournament so far. He's also down the back. This is weird. Like, I feel oddly uncomfortable watching G2 do this well. And not because it's like G2 hate or anything like that, but just because they're against Sentinel.
We saw the adaptations. Oh, Shazam already down a couple of knives. What's he got? 2 left to work with? Be a little bit tough now for him. That ultimate needs to connect a headshot to refresh. Now, what I wanted to say was G2 versus F4Q. You saw the adaptations they made. Yeah. They worked so hard on improving their game. And so far, it's been working out for them in this series as well. Shazam connects the Coldamenta though. That's the pick that they needed. He's got all the blades back up, and that's the difference maker in a round like this where they don't even have a rifle to play around.
จะเจอกันหรือไม่เคลอบไหลมาทางชิคเก้นโอ้เป็นทางเดฟสวยแล้วเดฟโดดขึ้นมาเดฟไม่มีเช็คโอ้โหเคลอบเก็บเดฟไปโอ้เป็นเอาว่าถอยฮะลูกี้ยังสเตย์อยู่เดฟโอ้เดฟแต่เดฟเดินมาเดินวิ่งเวลเห็นต้องเดินเช็คโอ้
He's just sat all the way back just ratting it as far as he can and now they're going to try and put some pressure on Zombs. Now he popped his ultimate at the beginning of the round. Shazam will close out the lurk, but he needs to get something on here. Luckily, this weapon at close range, it can work.
30 seconds left as they dive on in, but they've already bypassed him. Going up above as well. This site is now theirs. The res on the Dapper might not mean much. If Zombs goes down, and he will, walking out of the Viper's pit and being dropped straight away. Man advantage no longer in their favor. Shazam wants to get the opening, but does he know that right up above is Mixwell, waiting to catch Dapper as he comes on through?
เช็คโอเคเป็นเอาว่าแล้วเจอกับทางมิสเวลนะเป็นซิกเก็บไป
manages to save
ลู
his
กี้
life.
เหลือคนเดียว
Now they should have their first
ราว
round.
นี้มา
Unless
แน่
Nuki
ๆโอ้เป็น
has
ซิก
got
เก็บ
something
ลู
to
กี้
say
ไป
about
เป็น
it,
ราวแรก
and he
ของ
does
เซน
it.
ติเนล
Welcome to the scoreboard as Sentinels hit
โอ้
one.
กา
Took them
มา
quite a
แล้
bit
ว
of time and
ราวแรก
definitely one of the shakier rounds that we've seen for
Tiffy,
G2
Tiffy.
players being caught
แทง
off
สีเขียว
here
ที่
and
ฟี่
there,
อันฉลาดก่อน
but
ใช้
some
ยาไม่ใช่ที่
solid
ฟี่ประหยัด
kills coming through in the retake, and of course,
Wow,
well,
ที่
Shazam, it
คุณ
didn't take too long for him to move up the scoreboard at least a little bit on
จาก
that
ที
jet.
ทูได้ไป
Yeah, I mean, there weren't many,
ชะแซ
wasn't
ม
much
เอา
of a lead
ว่า
to catch up on, let's say it
โอ้
that
โห
way. In fact, it makes well, a little bit too slow. He was waiting for Dapper to walk on through. He was hearing the shots out of that frenzy.
โอ้ได้ฮะ
Small
โอ้
gap
ไม่
that was
ก็
left
อาจ
open
จะ
for them
หั
to
ว
walk
หา
out the
ผม
door. They grab the
เพราะ
kill
มัน
to
เว
avoid
ลา
it.
ตี
They
หนึ่งครึ่ง
overrun
ยั
the
งไงเล่า
site.
มันคือเว
That's
ลา
what we
น
needed
อ
to
น
see from
ก็มันเป็น
Sentinels.
การไลฟ์
That
สด
was
แบบ
on a
นี้ผม
weak
ก็
by
คง
now,
ไม่พลา
and
ด
a
ที่จะ
big
มาพลาด
difference
กัน
maker was
นะ
the fact that Kellogg's played so aggressive. He was starting to ego them. I mean, with 7 rounds, you can't really blame him, but now we need to see that come through again. We need to see Sentinels make it work when G2 aren't playing overconfident now that they've lost a round.
Just as Shazam goes to push, he's going to be held back by a snake bite. They're doing well to deny pretty much all of the aggression of Sentinels so far. That's one of the things I've been really impressed with for G2. Now the drone, not really going to find anything. So this gives that extra space for Shazam to move a little bit further forward out of rotations. But this time, it's looking like G2 might just pick up the pace.
เป็นแท็กไหม
It certainly does. Nuke is
รู้ว่า
watching for
มี
the flank play,
เค
holding
ลอบ
it
สไลด์
down.
เข้ามา
Might
เค
be
ลอบ
caught
เก็
on
บ
the
ซิก
cross,
ไป
and he'll be on his way
โอ้โห
because
อะไร
Sick
เนี่ย
is
ชะแซม
already being
ชะแซม
taken down.
ชะแซม
But
เก็บ
there
ลูก
it
กี้ไป
is.
เอา
Shazam
ว่า
trading it back,
เอาว่าแพ้
taking
นะ
out
เป็น
the star
ทีมแพ้
player
เรียบร้อย
for
ซ้อม
G2 in this
เดฟ
map so far.
เอาล่ะ
That could
เด
be
ฟ
a
ต้องรีบ
huge
ทำการ
blow
สแกน
to the
แล้วไม่งั้น
attacking
จะไม่
side,
รู้
but they
ว่า
have
มี
got the
คน
spike
ดังอยู่หลัง
planted.
วอลเอา
Time is on
ว่า
their side.
ชะแซม
As it ticks
เคลอบ
away ever faster,
Wall, check it
Sentinels
down.
need to make this B
ส
retake
แกน
work. It
โอ้ยิง
hasn't
มาแล้ว
been
โอ้แล้ววอล
successful
ขึ้น
for
นะ
them so far.
วอลขึ้น
But
จั
they
งหวะ
haven't
เดิน
had
มา
this kind of
แล้วมี
weaponry
ส
in the
แกนอีก
past.
โอ้โห
This is the
ยิง
Avova
คือ
spot.
จะไม่ให้เข้าเลย
It's
เด
one
ฟ
of those positions
เทน
where he
เทน
sticks
รอ
in
แฟง
all
เทน
the
โอ้
time.
แต่ว่า
Ten's
คงไม่
on
ต้อง
the
ออกมา
lane flank.
แล้ว
He's
มี
been
ทาง
spotted.
เคลอบ
They're
ที่มา
expecting
ซ้อม
him
กัน
now, but could
เทน
act
เก็บ
as
เค
a
ลอบ
bit of a
เทนโอ้ยังไม่ได้
distraction
ทริป
and
เปิลคิ
quickly
ว
Sentinels just drop 3
เก็บโอ้
players.
แบบ
Left
โอ้
one
พิ
onto
เศษหรือคนเดียวโดน
Mixwell, and his
แทนเก็บ
burst
ไป
through the screen
โอ้
is
โห
not
เป็น
going to
ช็อตเก็บ
achieve
3 คน
anything.
ที่แบบรวดเร็ว
Another
มากนะ
solid retake from Sen. It
เป็น
seems like they
สอง
found their
ราวที่
footing.
สอง
This is
เซน
where
ติเนล
G2 might get a little bit worried, you know?
โอ้โห
Sentinels
ฉาก
breathing
เมื่อกี้
life
เร็ว
back
มาก
into
นะ
their game.
แค่
Tens
ข้างมันทำเลยโอ้โหซ้อม
activated
ยิงไม่
in
ได้
that
เลยครับ
little two-piece that he found
08
towards
ฮะ
B long.
ไม่ได้
Now
ว่า
you notice that
ยิงไม่ได้
G2
นะ
had the Viper's Pit
แพ้
online
นะ
for a
แต่
couple
ผม
of
บอกว่า
rounds. They had the A and B side and didn't use it there to secure the round and ended up losing them subsequently. I think at this point, they're going to start to reassess things. A little bit of back and forth by the boys. Sentinels getting their chance to return.
เอา
I
ละขึ้น
like
มาลาว
it.
ที่ 10 นะครับ
But
เป็นส
this is
กอร์
where
เจ
G2
G2
need to reassess
7-2
things. Still yet to see a pause come out, which I'm quite
เดฟ
surprised
เดฟส
considering how
แก
things have
น
been
ไป
going.
1 สเต็ป
Well, for now at least. Both sides still with the purchase in play.
Tom.
Again, they're going to be waiting outside B just for any sort of aggression, and mid
Six
again
ปิด
is
ทาง
going to be the
เช่น
main
ไป
hold, at least in the early
แล้วเป็น
stages
เอา
of the
ว่ายัง
round.
มี
Maybe
สเลบี
expecting that
แล้วมี
pace
นุก
change
กี้
once
ที่
again from G2, like
เดิน
trying
ส
to
ไลด์
go
เอ
for
ง
something
โซ
into
โล่
mid, because
เงา
most
ๆ
of
เดื
the
อด
time it's
ๆ
been
โดยมี
slow defaults, fighting the
เทนส์กับ
extremities,
เดฟ
giving
ที่อยู่
space to
โดนบิน
Nuke
ขึ้น
to
ไป
look for
ยิง
own,
โดน
but he's
เฉ
going to
ย
be spotted
ไม่
by
ยิ
the
งโดน
drone.
เลย
He's
ในการ
got
รู้
to
ตำ
be
แหน่งก็
careful,
เกิดขึ้น
because
เทน
Tens
เดิน
is on
มา
the hunt.
เอาว่าไม่ใช่เอาว่ามึงใครแล้วนุกกี้
Sees
นุกกี้
the
เดินถอยไป
space right
เทน
away.
ก็ทำการเช็คแค่นั้นแล้ว
Gonna
ก็เดินกลับ
pursue
ไป
too far.
ซ้อม
It's
มี
over
ทางคอมเม
towards
ต้า
this
ที่
B
รอ
side
ยืนรอ
that
อยู่
they
ข้างบน
start to get worried.
Oh.
With Zom's in position behind
Kometa.
yellow, he can be isolated. The cross is
Shazam.
being watched by Shazam, but there's no way they'll go
Oh,
across
wow.
without a Viper wall down. In fact, it looks like there's no way
Mixwell.
they'll go across at all. G2 start to relocate, moving towards the spawn, and it looks like they want to late exec into the A side.
They're going
มัน
to
จะ
try
เป็น
and
เกม
send.
อย่างไรกันมาดูกัน
It seemed
เอา
like they were going to send
ว่า
Mixwell through mid. But instead, he's going to double back with the rest of the team. You can see Sentinels have the right idea.
เอาละทาง
Already
G2 เริ่มโดน
rotating Dapper
เริ่มโดน
through
ไหล
the
มา
remaining
ทาง
players.
A
Also
แล้ว
going
เซ
to
ต
make
A
their move,
เรียบ
and
ร้อย
as the
ฮะโดย
screen
ที่
goes
ทาง
down, it
เซน
looks
ติ
to
เนล
try
ยิง
and
3
section
ตัว
the site in two.
โอเคเดินเข้ามา ฮะเป็นแดมที่ยืนหลังวอลสกรีนฮะโอ้แต่มีการเช็คโอ้โหทำแบบนี้โอมิไปเลยรีบแข่งไปทางซ้ายเก็บพิกเซลพอไปตั้งเก็บเทสแดมเก็บวิธีเป็นแดมเก็บโคไปตั้งอีกทีนึงแล้วเป็นแดมเด็บเวลาแพนจะเอาว่าเก็บเดฟไปแล้วเป็นเคลอฟเก็บพิกเซลโอ้ซิกแค่พีนิดเดียวแค่พีก็จะเจอพิกโอเค
It's down to Sick. He has to clutch this one out. No idea where Avova might have gone. The wrap could be in play, and he's about to get peeked out by Kellogg's on the off. This is so tough. He needs an opportunity to take a duel and a close shot, but a whiff. Now as the time ticks away, Sick
โอ้ยมีเกมหลบจับซิกอยู่ครับผม
They
โอ้ได้เป็น
reposition,
วิน
they
ที่8ไป
relocate, and put an 8th on the board. G2 doing a fantastic job of bouncing back.
And this is a phrase I never thought I'd say, but Sentinels are being out-clutched. Like, that's what we're currently witnessing. Normally they're the team to win these 2v4s, 3v4s, 2v1s, whatever you name it. They're the ones to come out on top, and Kellogg's, he is on form. I mentioned him at the beginning of the series. Like, if they're going to have a good game, if they're going to be able to challenge versus the previous champions, this man needs to be on form. And
ไม่รู้ว่าทางเซนติเนลเนี่ยจะแก้เกมอย่างไรนะ
Fair to say, that absolutely is. You look at that situation, I mean, there was no way in my mind that went G2's way. No. 4v2, lockdown, 10 seconds left. They surely couldn't have gotten the spike planted, and somehow Evolva maneuvers around. His timing is perfect.
He gets a kill while planting it the first time.
Absolutely, and then just about manages to evade Six position, his sidelines, as he moves around the side, gets the spike planted. Kellogg's with a double kill that stopped them from pushing down and killing Evolva. Like, every piece of that puzzle came together perfectly for G2. That's the kind of round that happens 1 in 100 times.
Now we have to see how Sentinels are going to break back. I think the last time we witnessed this map, it was an 8-4 attacking side half for G2. That was enough for them to get it over the line, even though we can sometimes see those attacking comebacks. I feel like Sentinels at a minimum need the 4. Like, realistically, it's still not going to be the best of halves for them, but there would still at least be a possibility. Say, for example, they lost the pistol, but at this stage, well, there hasn't been consistency from them. It was a couple of rounds, both in terms of retakes, so their actual holds of the site haven't been exactly going well. This time as well, they even had some sneaky angles behind utility G2, and they still lost it.
ถ้ามาเริ่มกันเลย
We all know Hypoc loves to see those retakes get started, but he hasn't seen them at all so far for Sentinels. You've had those 2 rounds that came through, but losing out, I think arguably more than we've seen them
คงได้ยินเสียงแล้วว่าเราบอกว่าเอาละไอ้หนุ่มน้อยมันโยกไป1 คนนะ
I think he did. He might just about have caught them. He's not even the point man on this round. He'll take first contact, but now it's all about buying time for Tenz's flank. The question is, does anyone on G2 look back towards their spawn? For now, the answer is definitively no.
ทางชื่ออะไรนะเอาว่าจะทุบวอลปิดไปเป็นเอาว่าเทนเก็บเอาว่าแล้วเป็นลูกที่เก็บแล้วเป็นเทนแล้วเก็บเทนออกซ้ำอีกทีนึงมิกซ์เวลเก็บซอมบี้ไปมิกซ์เวลปิ้ว And this could give them at least a little bit of space. The problem, though, is the spike is currently dropped all the way back towards 10. So he's called for that little bit of extra support. Shazam, though, he misses his shot.
Shazam.
Yeah, it's going to be tagged up massively. Has to be so cautious about any future fights that he wants to take. Waiting for his teammates to rotate into position for G2.
เป็นมิกซ์เวลยังเดินอยู่นะแล้วลูกกี้เดินกลับเพื่อจะไปเอาสไปค์แล้วมิกซ์เวลเก็บชาแซมไปแล้วเทนเดินจะมาพีคเก็บลูกกี้ไปแล้วเป็นมิกซ์เวล
for that man in this round, and that pretty much cements the save for G2.
แล้วเป็นเดินมาเป็นเทนก็จะเจอแล้วเทนก็เก็บมิกซ์เวลไปเป็นเวนที่8เอ้ยเวนที่3ของเซนติเนล
It is 8-3.
เซนติเนลต้องกลับมาพลิกที่8-4เพื่อในการเล่นฝั่งลุกของเขาเนี่ยจะได้เล่นง่ายยิ่งขึ้นและสะดวกยิ่งขึ้นนะฮะ
I think that's the first time we've actually seen
God.
Tens pop off.
การเลือกของ Icebox ของ G2 เนี่ยมันถูกชะตาของเขาจริงๆ
haven't caught him as he tried to get a little bit aggressive. We saw in a lot of the early rounds, like there was the pipes position that he just got killed, I think 3 or 4 times.
So that's
it's been rough, that's for sure. But the fact that he's now found that 4K, that's more of a danger to me than anything else.
เอาละฮะ
Yeah, most definitely. Got his 2K before. It was clean. You saw his aim get warmed
เดิน
up.
มาเล่น
And
ทาง
now
โซน B
coming in with
โคเมต้าเดินนำโด่งไปชาแซมยิงยิงโดนโอ้มิกเวลเก็บซอมบี้ไปชาแซมต้องดิสแดดหนีเพราะเขาสแกนแต่ว่ามิกเวลยังยิงตามสมองทันนะ
left waiting in the sidelines. No res in play for them
เค
coming
ล็อ
into
บ
this
เคล็อบเจอกับทางของโอเคครับเป็นซิกที่เก็บเอาว่าไป
He can't cover the plans, but we will have a Viper's pit activated. That will buy them some space. But if Dapper can manage to find Mixwell here and grab a tag,
โอเคเป็นทางขวาเคลี
but
ยร์
instead, they're using it as a fake. They're running away towards the A side, just leaving Kellogg's here with a bulldog in hand. He's going to
โอ
try.
เคครับเป็นตัวล่อของท็อกซิกเดินยก A เป็นที่เรียบร้อยเหลือทิ้งไว้เคล็อบเพียงผู้เดียวแต่ว่าเป็นทางเทนกับทางของเทนเดินไปนะฮะเทนวิ่งโอเคล็อบที่เดินซิกเดินเดินลงเดินรอบนะฮะโดน
he's going back. Tens is like, oh, it must be going towards the B site. Sentinels are completely lost in this round, and now he's going to go running through the spawn. And you can just wait for him. This is glorious from G2, leaving just Dapper standing to try and pull off a ludicrous clutch.
And he will not even get a moment to think about that. Mixwell shutting him down, third kill of the round, and it's 9-3. Sentinels completely blindsided as soon that it was about to be a mid-split into the B site, and they found out the hard way that it certainly wasn't.
No, I actually can't believe what we've just witnessed in this half. It's one of those matches where you think that realistically it's going to be back and forth, and sure, G2 managed to take it last time, but well, we got another half to go, I guess.
Yes, we do, and you know what? I think Sentinels are going to need a breather after that one. Maybe we do too. Let's toss it over to Desk to get some of their opinions on how this one's been going.
Thank you very much, gents. It's looking mighty familiar to the last time around, and in fact, G2 will just do us one better there, Doug. A 9-3 half compared to an 8-4 the last time they were on the attacking side of Icebox against Sentinels.
Almost like there's like a glitch in the Matrix, right? It's like we've been here before, but you're right, just slightly better.
They got the script from the other day and they mixed it up with the one that was supposed to be for today's games.
And then somebody came running on stage like, you can't repeat it. You got to do something different.
Our producer's going to be like, okay, guys, just come on, pretend. Like, we've got to...
Just eke out one more. But I love the way in which it's happening so far, Doug, because it's very much the way we were hoping it would. And in fact, this is our Verizon high-speed moment of the day because it comes from Nukier. It's 7 rounds straight for G2. Him leading the charge with kind of speed and aggression we thought would be the difference maker.
Well, and we talked about how for G2 it kind of feels like their win condition has to be momentum. They win the bonus in the first half. They're able to rattle that off to a 7-0 start. And Nukier, 7-0-3 by round 6. He had 10's number on A for what felt like an eternity.
And it also just really felt like G2 had so much vigilance in this first half of the game, you know? Like, even all the way back to round number 2 on their anti-eco, they had really good positions to watch for a flank that would come in from Sentinels, which they did try to do, not very successfully. Every time they tried to burst into the A site, there was always so much support on what it was that Nukier was doing. You had Kellogg's kind of coming up from behind, Nukier going in at the front. You know, there were a couple of moments like Dapper managing to survive behind that Viper's wall.
What the heck was that?
I don't really know what that was. And I think once Sentinels actually started to get a handle on their economy, that's where they put in a couple of rounds. We saw Tens have a couple of good rounds, but for the most part, the vigilance from G2 was incredibly good.
But now, Doug, it's about wrapping it up, right? You can't rest on your laurels. You still got to get 4 more rounds to bring you to 13 and take it. Do you think they can wrap it up in clean fashion here on the back half?
I do, but it's going to have to be clean, right? Like, you can't afford any mistakes. You give Sentinels an inch, they'll take the whole damn mile.
All right, don't give them any breathing room, G2, if you want to take this map number 1. Mitch and Tom, right back to you to get us into the action.
Well, we're ready to jump back into half number 2, and let's hope that there's plenty for Sentinels to do. They have 3 rounds on the board coming out of the first, and you know, we talk a lot about the 9-3 curse. Maybe G2
นำ9-3นะครับในครึ่งหลังเซนติเนลจะเป็นฝั่งแอสเซอร์มารอดูกันว่าเซนติเนลสามารถลัชโอ้ยเดี๋ยวเคลอบเก็บเทนไปตรงจุดไหนเนี่ยจุด A เหรอฮะอะไรเนี่ยเร็วมากเลย
Well, just get him.
Get after him.
You might be ruining our series at that
point.
Well, this certainly hasn't started out poorly. They've managed to take down Tens yet again, shutting him down in the early half of the previous map and doing just the same here in the pistol. Sentinels are gearing up for a B take. Their wall is going to be going up in just a second. There you go. Yeah, the poison orb fades. They pop up the wall. They close in the distance, and now it's popped that wall up to get a point.
โอ้ยพีกออกมาซิก
Sick is going all
ซิก
the
โอ้
way
ย
through.
ซิ
Of
ก
course,
จะ
he doesn't have the
ทำ
ice
เช
wall
ล
to
ล็อก
play with, so they need to be
ใคร
a
อะ
bit more
เคลอบจะไปโอ้แต่ว่าเป็นเซนติเนลที่เก็บลูกเกมบนเข้าไปแล้วเป็นวิทแล้วเคลอบคอมพิวเตอร์เก็บแดนแล้วเป็นแดนเก็บมิสเวลเอาเก็บไปแล้วเนี่ย
Still behind the screen. I think Mixwell has expected them to be a little bit further forward, so just waiting for the screen to go down to give them that little bit of extra space. It seems like G2 at the moment is still just looking back towards the A side, just in case there's been that fallout, that fallback. It's still going to be a pretty awkward spot. One big spot it will allow Kellogg's to try and reposition and take the battle, but Shazam has taken out Mixwell.
เคเราเก็บชาแซมอะไรวะจะแซมซอมบี้โอ้ยเจอสปอร์ตอีกโอ้โหโดนพีไฟวอลทะลุโอ้แล้วเป็นซิตี้เดียวเคลอเก็บซ้อมไปแล้วเป็นซิกเก็บเคลอเหลือซิก vs กับโครเมตาแล้วโอ้เป็นโครเมตาเก็บซิกไปขึ้นเป็นวินที่10-3เส้น4เร็วแล้วเป็นทาง G2 เนี่ยที่จะมีเงินในการบายฟูนะฮะฟูแล้วถ้าเซนติเดียวไม่สามารถจัดการอะไรได้ก็จะเป็นการไหลขึ้นสู่วินที่11ของโครเมตา
And you know what, Kellogg's, the player that we highlighted to start this out was, his battle versus Tens, maybe even his battle versus Shazam. He's got 18 kills coming out of that pistol round. That is phenomenal. And for a young player who had a lot of question marks around his name coming into this event, coming into this team, in fact, before we even get to Masters, he is delivering exactly what everybody hoped he would.
Sure, and in fact, we're actually going to see a force spike coming out of Sen. I think they've realized that at this stage of the map, they need to get in and they need to get back into it now. A fast push coming in on towards the A side. Spike actually leading the charge. It could be dropped, but instead, Sick will win himself the duel.
A lot bought up for Sentinels, and they're looking to get the value out of it. Plans coming through.
ทางของโคเมตาไปแล้วเป็นโอ้G2ที่แฝงมาเก็บกับทางเทนแล้วลูกี้เก็บซิกเฮ้ยเดี๋ยวG2ใจเย็นลูกี้เก็บชาแซมไอ้บ้าเอ้ยเคลอบถือเป็นราเชลโอ้ยซอมบี้เก็บลูกี้ไปแล้วเป็นเคลอบที่ไหลไทยลงมาเก็บซอมบี้ไปแล้วเป็นมิสเวลเก็บได้ขึ้นเป็นวินที่11-3เซนติเนลโอ้G2ด่านนี้ทำไมเขาสามารถกำลับเซนติเนลได้เซนติเนลมีจุดอ่อนที่ด่านไอซ์บ็อกอย่างนั้นหรือเป็นการที่แพ้ทางการของ G2 และเซนติเนล
We have to talk about when this roster, if you go back to even the early challenges before we even get to EMEA, there were moments where they looked like they were in the driver's seat and they crumbled. They would give away jewels, they would lose fights in certain positions, and rounds would slip away from them. Instead, they lose the opening pick here. Do they panic? Do they like make aggressive mistakes? No, they look like they come back in as a unit and they well, it was a perfect retake. They only lost one man after that point.
You know, it's pretty easy to be comfortable with 10-3 up, but now 11-3 kind of only gets worse.
โอเคเป็นทางฟอสบายของทางเซนติเนลเพื่อไม่ให้วินไหลไปมากกว่านี้ฮะ
But it's with Spectres, a Guardian, and another Spectre on Zombs.
Sense Guardian, River แน่นอน 100%
To say the least, they're going to try to isolate
ไหล
these
เข้ามาแล้วครับโอ้โหจะเป็นการวอลที่แม่งวอลแบบ
absolutely everywhere.
โคตรสุด
But that gives Sentinels the
ชาแซ
ability
มไหลขึ้นมา
to
ข้างบน
close in on the site.
เจอยิงโอ้เป็นบายโอเคเป็นบายของทีมตัวเองซิกชาแซมซิกใครวอตดิสเป็นของเคลอบไอ้บ้าเอ้ยซิก
No, he's picked up the orb, so he will have his blade storm. It's going to be down to that battle of the flank. If he falls, I feel like this round looks very
เอาละฮะ
unlikely.
เป็นทางโอเคมีทางของแดฟที่รอดักแฟงอยู่ชาแซมเก็บมิสเวลคอมเมนต้าเก็บซิกแล้วชาแซมเขาเก็บคอมเมนต้าแล้วแดฟที่แฟงข้างหลังเก็บแดฟไปแล้วเป็นลูกี้เก็บเทแล้วเป็นอาว่าเก็บซอมบี้แล้วเป็นคนเดียวเป็นชาแซมแล้วเป็นเคลอบที่ไหลเข้ามาเก็บชาแซมไปเก็บเป็นที่12ครับผมโอ้โหอีกราวเดียวเป็น G2 ชนะในแบบแรกไปนะไอ้บ้าเอ้ย
I mean, you can't even point at him. The whole team has been struggling, and I think that guy had to retake the A site like the first 6 rounds, 7 rounds in a row. He was in a 1v4. So I'm not even gonna go there. The reality is G2 are just playing a better game. They're outclassing Sentinels on Icebox.
แมตช์แรก
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It sets us up for a series and a half, that's for sure, with Sentinels having to fight from a deficit.
ตลอดเลยออฟสไนมาเชล
Now
เนี่ย
at least they're looking for a streak of 9
โอเคเป็นเล่นสูตรนี้ชาแซมกับโอ้เป็นเจอกับไม่ใช่ชาแซมเป็นเคลอบกับเอาว่าเล่นสูตรวอลนะครับแล้วเป็นเจอกับทางเทนแล้วก็ยิงแล้วก็ไล่กับเคลอบไป
Sick will also get his res online, so at least an ultimate to play with. And
Shazam,
if he can get the one on the other side,
ต้องปิดก่อน
he'll be looking at his blade storm.
โอ้ยเคลอบเก็บแดฟไปจากทาง CT มิสเวลเจอโอเครู้แล้วว่าซิกมีคนอยู่ตอนเจอซิกเก็บซิกไปโอ้โหอะไรเนี่ยซ้อม
is down and you know okay they might walk into the A site completely open if they go quick enough but G2
ซ้อมชาแซมเทน3คนนี้จะสามารถกู้เกมกลับมา3-5ได้หรือไม่โครเมตา
can afford to let this one go. Not really wanting to.
วอลเป็นที่เรียบร้อยฮะเป็นคอมเมนต้าที่โดนเข้ามาแล้วก็มีนะครับทางใครวะกับทางนุกกี้ที่จะขึ้นมาเล่นกับเฮเว่นและพีเคหลบไหลเขากำลังวิ่งกลับมาช่วยสแกนโดนเทนเอาว่าสโลว์เซนติเนลเก็บชาซาเกเอาว่าบิสเวลเก็บชาซานุกกี้เสร็จแล้วเทนเก็บกับคอมเมนต้าแล้วนุกกี้ไปเหลือเป็นกับทางบิสเวลและคีรอนโอ้ยมีแฟนว่าเทนเก็บกับของบิสเวลเหลือโอ้ยจะขึ้นเจ็ดเล่นสไลด์ครับแต่ว่าเคลองสามารถรู้แต่และเก็บเทนไปกินเป็นวิชเล่แบบแรก13-3โอ้ my god สกอร์แรงกว่าเดิมอีกฮะ
What an incredible start to this series. G2 came up against F4Q and they had completely shifted their play style. They had looked at everything that they could possibly do to improve and they had even surpassed any expectation that I had. And coming into this series, we're seeing the same thing again. A phenomenal map, not just for G2 though, for Kellogg. We talk about this young guy, we talk about the pressure he's under.
คือเขายิงไม่โดนไม่ใช่เขายิงไม่โดนเขายิงไม่ได้นะจังหวะทัมมิ่งแย่มากฮะไม่ได้ว่าแย่แต่คือจังหวะทัมมิ่งของทีมเซเนียลค่อนข้างแย่กว่ามากเลย
because he has been unstoppable and he just got shut
เราเจอกันในเกมต่อไป